Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Cocktails and Combos. I'm Karen,
And I'm Joni.
and we're going to dive into an episode that has to do with a very personal, I guess, somewhat political, controversial topic, which is anxiety and when anxiety tends to push people away, your loved ones and friends, and how you isolate during a time of darkness. But before we dive into that, we have a funny little story. You want to kick it off?
So it was yesterday that Karen.
Oh, wait, we didn't say what we're drinking, actually.
Ow!
We
What is
forgot
it?
to say this is just a nice, refreshing rosé. I figured it's easy and you know.
We should have this goes pairs perfect with chocolate covered strawberries.
Ooh, we should have
I
chocolate.
know. And we didn't do the ding
And you know what? I
ding.
forgot to mention again that I am doing Invisalign. I should be sipping through the straw, but I forgot. This is week 3. So if I sound a little like muffled or like
A
I have
little.
a little lisp, that's what's going on. It's actually, you know what I like about it is that it actually makes my lips look fuller.
Really?
Yeah, I think
Really?
just the way that my lips are like resting on the actual trays makes them look a little pouty. So
A little plump.
that's that. But go ahead, continue.
So yesterday, Karen gets home, and I guess it's been happening for a little bit, right? Where she comes home, and there are these kids, teenagers,
Teenagers,
playing outside on
big
her
teenagers.
basketball hoop, which is fine. I think that's totally fine. But they were dunking on it,
Yeah.
and Karen proceeded to try to leave the house to go get her kids. And then, they're out there, and it's like they don't greet her. She says hello, they don't even answer.
Don't even acknowledge my presence.
Which that in itself, it's like, why are kids so rude these
Right.
days? You know what I mean? But then it makes sense, right? Because then the next day, that was yesterday was when the moms were there, right?
Yeah. So I left to car loop. The kids were there,
And then the moms
and
were
then the moms
there,
were there another time I left the house.
and
Two moms.
two moms didn't acknowledge her, didn't say, hey, by the way, is it okay if, they play or whatever? And then didn't even speak. She said she waved. They didn't even acknowledge the wave, which is
Which is so
insane.
rude.
And, it's like, whatever. On our street, we had the little thing, the little basketball, and the kids would come over, but everyone would kind of talk. Like all our kids would kind of like hang out and play, but it's like these kids are teenagers dunking. And the thing is, we all know that when there's those basketball hoops and you dunk on them, they get
Yeah.
they get ruined.
They're somewhat. I mean, it was an expensive hoop as it is,
And
but
you guys take care of it. Your kids take care of it. My kids take care of it.
yeah.
So it's like, why are these random kids gonna come? Don't ask permission. Don't acknowledge her, or say, hey, we're here. Can we? Or
Right.
even when she waves, says hello, whatever. And then you're gonna dunk on it and ruin it. So long story short, when my husband came to drop off our kid for all of them to go to baseball, he noticed that the kids were there, and this
Yeah.
was like later in the evening, and he was like, "Man, the hoop is ruined. Like, what happened to the hoop?" And I'm like, "Oh, well, what happened?"
What had happened was,
And so Karen did a poll, or not a poll, she just vented a little bit.
yeah, I posted about it in our stories, and it was so funny to get the feedback because I said, "What would you do? Would you have them? Would you go up to them and be like, 'Hey, kick rocks, get off my hoop,' or do you just let it be?"
Karen
And
was mad.
and
Karen was
and everybody that responded said, "Kick rocks," because it's just the principle of it too. Like you can't even say hello to me now. You're ruining my property, and what am I
yeah.
supposed to do?
No, and it's true. And it's so then we were talking about it this morning, right?
Hmm.
When we were saying, so she had expressed a concern where it was like it made sense. I think typically if they would have came up and said, "Hey, can I
Can we
play
use
here?" or
it?
whatever, that would have went a different way. But then there's a side of, you don't know these kids. You can't even trust anybody anymore. It's like you don't know if they get hurt, if
Yeah,
something, happens on your property, or like you said, you freaking break a finger on the thing or
yeah. It'll be
something,
my
you don't
fault.
it'll be her fault. So we had a situation where so we have this neighbor across the street that we've had for years. I mean, how
Yeah, it's like over
14,
10,
15
10
years?
years. Yeah.
Yeah, we've been in our house for 24 years. So imagine 14 of those years she's been our neighbor. Her husband passed away, so ever since her husband passed away, my husband and I and my kids, we, check on her, we we've had her over for Thanksgiving. She has no family
No
here.
family.
So
You
every
guys are her
holiday, even
family.
if she doesn't come over, we bring her a plate of food. We just check on her, even on Valentine's Day, which was her husband's birthday. We'll, give her a bottle of wine or whatever. We hadn't seen her for a while, right? Where I was like, we hadn't seen her, so we were a little worried, and I think if somebody, I think we did a well check or something, or we called to
Because you
do a
hadn't
well
heard
check
from
because
her?
we hadn't heard from her. Turned out she was somewhere. I don't even remember where she was at that point. But anyway, she ended up coming back, and she knocked on my, like, I see her coming towards the front door, and I was walking because I heard our little thing go off. She's walking towards the front door. I'm walking, and then no, actually, she rang the doorbell. That's what it was. She rang the doorbell. The dogs went crazy. I went to go put the dogs away. She comes back to ring the doorbell again, and as I'm walking towards the door, she trips
Oh,
on this little lip that we have on our front porch, and I still to this day can't get the sound of her head hitting the wall, the concrete wall. It was,
oh, she hit her head on the
she hit
wall?
her head, like she tripped and fell forward, but fell into the frame, like,
That's interesting.
of our door, where the wall is. So it's like her head hit the wall. When I tell you the amount of blood that was pouring all over the place, all over our front porch, all over our driveway. So it's like I'm screaming for my husband. He was in the
Oh
garage, I
my
think.
goodness, I don't know what I would have done.
And she's holding and she's crying and whatever. And I'm like, screaming for my husband. He comes out. We get her to her house across the street. And when I tell you the amount of blood that was there, we clean her up. She didn't want to go to for us to call the ambulance because she doesn't have insurance.
Oh
So
boy.
whatever, we clean her up. We look for all her stuff, her keys or whatever. So we couldn't find anything. It was like a disaster. So then my husband's like, I'll take you. So he took her to the hospital, stayed with her, gave her a ride back home. And then we checked on
That's
her the
scary.
next couple days. She sent us the bill, her medical bills for going to the hospital. I was like,
See what I mean?
wow.
See what I mean?
Mind you, we didn't ask her to come over. She, on her own free will, came to knock on our door and happened to trip. I was like, so then my husband's like, I'm not paying shit. Like, so he gave her money,
Oh, the audacity
a
though.
couple $100, just like here, if you're doing, you need money or whatever, but we're not paying your hospital bill. So after that, it's like, I get it. You don't know what their intentions are. Like people that just randomly come to your house. Like we had a
Yeah.
kid, remember the kid that was coming over every single day? The kid rides his bike all over. He's a fourth grader, rides his bike all over town. My kids don't do that. We don't let our kids out of our sight,
Yeah.
like, and roam the streets.
Right.
So it's like if this kid gets hurt on his, he has like a electric bike
Mm-hmm.
on our driveway. He does wheelies. I'm like, are you kidding? He
Yeah,
cracks his head.
he break
We're
an ankle,
done.
the bill's coming to you. And that's exactly what I was afraid of with the stupid hoop.
So what are you gonna do now if you like? So what happened
So
with that
I
whole thing?
told the kid when I left yesterday because I was pulling out to go to baseball and they were out there again. It's three of them and they're pretty big kids. My kids are 11 and 8, so they're not dunking on it. They're not putting weight enough
They were there again.
my kids aren't hanging off of it enough to tilt it. Well, it's tilted and it's all off balance or whatever the heck.
He said the
And
backboard was all like
yeah, the backboard is
messed
like
up.
this. I'm not an NBA player, but I'm guessing that's not accurate. That's not the way it's supposed to be. And I said to the kid, "Are you dunking on that?" And he goes, "My bad. Your husband said I couldn't hang on it." So then I'm like, well, and let me rewind a little bit because for me to get his attention, I pulled out of the driveway and I parked in front of him between the hoop and the kids. He was going to shoot the ball over my car. I had to roll my window down and be like, "Hey,
Oh no.
are
See.
you dunking on that?" And he
Hmm.
said, "Yeah, your husband said I couldn't hang on it." But I said, "Okay, well, don't do that. Don't play on that because my kids don't play with it like that. Like that thing is brand
Or
new.
just go.
We
Like
just
just
got it in
leave.
December,
Yeah.
right?" So he says, "You're good."
What does that mean?
Am I though? So I'm like, if he comes out there today, if they come out there today, I'm going to walk out and be like, you're good.
You can go.
Get off the property. Stay away from my hoop. Have a nice day. Like, have your mom buy you a freaking hoop. And shame on those moms
On the
because
moms that were there and didn't acknowledge
it
you.
pissed me off even more that they just nothing. I waved and then I got nothing. So, moral of the story is it's sad that we have to be this way, but I feel like I'm protecting myself and my property.
Yeah, and it's like if they're not respectful, it's like whatever. Who
Yeah. It
cares? Move
starts at
on.
home.
What was it that you said? Everyone said to kick rocks.
Everyone said to kick rocks.
Kick
And I'm like, I'm
rocks.
so glad because for a minute there, I really felt like I was being a Karen. And I don't like to be that way. But everybody was like, oh, heck no. I would have
Yeah,
told
it's
them
like
to bounce.
especially if they're like, come on, they're
Yeah,
ruining
don't be
it.
rude about it. It's different if they would have said, hey, can we use your hoop? We live in the area. I don't even know where they live. I've never seen them on this block before other than at my hoop.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Sad.
So,
But all right.
um,
So you want to kickstart into the topic today, which is anxiety. When anxiety isolates you and pushes people away.
um, I feel like you've had right more of an experience with that,
I
right?
had a really bad experience with that, and I hope that I don't get emotional talking about it because it was a really dark time. But in hindsight, it taught me a lot, and I am better because of it. I feel like I didn't really know what anxiety was, and I didn't realize I've had it my whole life because growing up, it's not something that you talked about.
But what does your anxiety like stem from? Like, what's your anxiety? Like, like my anxiety is like getting sick.
Everything, breathing.
You know, like there's like what is it, generalized anxiety?
For a long time, I remember as a kid, it was the anxiety of losing
A
somebody I
parent,
loved,
yeah, it was
like death,
right.
anything surrounding death. So it makes sense when dad passed away and the grief took over. That's when the anxiety and depression was at an all-time high, where I was like, "There's no light at the end of this tunnel,"
Yeah,
and I didn't know how to navigate that. The problem with therapy, and I shouldn't say problem because it was helpful and it helped point out some things that I didn't know I was dealing with internally, but they want to medicate.
everything is medicine. Yeah.
They want to medicate. They want to suppress. They want to put a band aid on things. And I shouldn't say every therapist because everybody has a different approach and technique. And if it works for you, it works for you. But I found that it was something that I kept having to revisit the bullshit that made me anxious
Hmm.
so that when I felt like I was making some headway, we would revert back to certain things. And I'm like, I don't want to keep talking about this. Like, if,
But that's not. I don't mean to interrupt, but that's kind of like the thing with therapy. It's like I don't know. I found that like you could be doing great,
mhm.
and the minute that I mean, usually it's what once a week, twice a week, or once every other week, whatever it
I was going
was.
3 times a week.
Oh, I didn't know
Yeah.
that. The minute you rehash things, it's like all those emotions, right? You're like, and it doesn't matter if you're having a good day or not. It's like, look, we were just talking about the basketball
Yeah.
thing,
And
and you're right back in that
yeah,
moment.
you're angry all over again.
So it's like, I don't know, I hated that part. If I
Yeah.
had never thought, I to the point that I told my therapist, like, because we both went to therapy at different times in our life, after our dad passed away. Um, but I always felt like this isn't
It's not conducive.
productive.
Yeah.
It's
To,
not positive. Like, yeah, there were things that I started finding and that we were able to walk through, but rehashing, it's like
mhm.
you're right back in the moment, and then you have to do your homework, and then you come back, and then you rehash, and you're right back. It's like, oh, you couldn't do it.
Yeah.
But good therapists get down to what the anxiety, like, what is
The
the
core of it.
anxiety about?
Yeah.
So your anxiety was about losing a parent
Losing a
or just
parent
death in
or,
general?
well, if you think about it, my anxiety growing up was part of the fear of losing a parent. A parent. And then when that fear came to life, it brought that little girl with all her
Right.
fears like back to the surface, and it just was so heavy. I couldn't I couldn't deal with it. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
we both kind of dealt with grief differently. Um Now with that, then it turned into depression because it took me a while to even get started with therapy and medication. So as far as medication, I don't know, I have like a mixed response to that because it helped me tremendously and I was like on this fabulous happy high. But then when that happy high wore off,
It's like fake,
I
right?
was not okay. It was almost like I was too happy. And I'm like, this feels surreal. Like I was on cloud nine and then
Like a
I felt like I
placebo
crashed.
effect type
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. So then I'm like, well, what does that mean? If I get off of this, am I going to go back to that scary, dark time? Because I didn't like that feeling. I don't think anybody likes that feeling.
So did you get
So
on it because you thought that that was like the last resort? What was it?
it was Prozac. I think I only did like 20 milligrams. And then I gradually, the dose got higher and higher. But I knew that I didn't want to do that for the rest of my life.
So you took
So
yourself off of.
then the fear was, and the anxiety was, what happens when I come off of these meds? Because I tried a couple different ones. And I'm not here to say that it's like I'm pro meds or not, because it's whatever works for you.
Yeah.
For me, it was just masking the stuff that was happening internally. Um, so anxiety being the thing that pushes people away. I totally relate to people that have an issue in their relationships. And I let's not even call it my anxiety because I don't want to take ownership of something so negative.
Hmm.
It's anxiety.
Your experience with it, I guess, right?
But it did push people away. And that's why I feel like you have to take a much needed, um, painful, eye opening inventory of who your people are. Because around that darkness and that time of my life,
Yeah.
people showed up and people showed up for who they are.
I think people showed you their true
And
colors.
I had a couple people be like, well, don't talk to me that way. I have nothing to do with it. And it's like I wasn't talking any kind of way
Yeah, it's
directly
just
to the
venting.
person. I was letting you know that I was at my wits end and this is the darkest
Venting. You're just
I've
venting.
ever been,
Yeah.
to the point of just not even wanting to get up in the morning. So
Hmm.
what's anxiety? Like when do you feel like it's crucial or when it's taken over your life? When you're avoiding public situations, when you're canceling events, when you're isolating yourself to the point of not seeing anybody.
And you're sleeping and stuff.
I was doing all of those things in addition to not interacting with my children, which is when I realized, like, when it hit me, when my oldest son was like, I think I was having an okay day. And I kept a journal, which was helpful too. But my son was like, Mommy, you're happy today.
Oh. Oh Lord.
So that's when I was like, fuck this.
Like
Like
you gotta snap out of it.
I'm
Yeah.
not gonna um be a prisoner of this thing. And fast forward years later, because dad died in 2017, and I don't think I got a grip of this until it was like 2023. Um, but again, this stems back to my childhood. I
Hmm.
just didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
I
You
used to
think
have,
it's the grief, but there's just the grief just triggered everything else.
because I remember having panic attacks and like these weird things happen to me as a child, and I didn't know how to vocalize what
What
I
was
was.
happening?
Yeah, like I used to get sick every morning before school because my nerves were so shot. Like it was bad. But I also, rewinding back to saying that you have to surround yourself with supportive people, because the people that love you and are confused about what you're going through, they're not going to just walk away. They're going to check in on you. They're going to go through it with you.
Hmm.
They're going to be there when you're okay, and they're going to
Yeah.
be there when you're not. And I found my core group of people that I knew I could rely on, but there was this one person. Now I'm going to be emotional, but you know how they say, and not to get all like, biblical and everything, but God puts you through these storms, that the people that are going to help you through it, he puts people in your path for a reason.
Right.
And he put this one person in my path that I was like, I actually told her, like, you're an angel on earth because you were sent to save me. And not only did she help me through a process that I thought I was never going to get through, she reintroduced me to my faith. It's not like I never stopped having a relationship with God, I was just so preoccupied with the shit that I was going through that I forgot that all I had to do was ask him
Yeah.
to step in. So she opened my eyes to that and reintroduced me to my faith. And through that and through my just what do you call when you just give yourself, when you just
Surrender.
surrender, when I finally surrendered and said I can't do this anymore, it was over. I
Yeah.
was able to get off my medication. And you know, you're not supposed to wean yourself off. Like you're supposed to wean yourself off. You're not supposed to do it cold turkey. I did it cold turkey. Not only did I do it cold turkey, I did it with no side effects. And I'm not saying that's the way to do it. That's what I did because I was so driven by my faith that I knew God was going to get me through it. And He did. I didn't have any side effects. I didn't have any long lasting issues. I haven't taken medication for what, 2024? Since 2024? No, even sooner.
She's 2023.
2023. Um, and it's a whole new ball game for me. But my salvation was my Lord and
Yeah.
Savior.
Yeah.
I physically dropped to my knees and said, "Take this. I can't do this anymore."
Hmm.
And it's not like I thought I heard Him speak to me. I heard Jesus say to me, "I love you." So much so that I turned to my husband and I thought it was him speaking to me.
Wow.
And
You never told me that.
it all changed from there. I My focus is not that, you know, the Bible says I'm already here, all you have to do is look up.
Yeah.
And I looked up and I haven't looked back down. So
Hmm.
that went deep.
I didn't know that. I had no idea.
That was deep, yeah. So you have to surround yourself with those core people that are going to be there for you. And it's, to me, it's okay to go dark.
I think that going dark, like you say, or going through those things are necessary for you to be like the best version of yourself.
Hmm.
And I don't know, people don't know what grief does. And it's like, did you come across, like, I felt like sometimes when you post stuff
Hmm.
and when you are an open book, obviously people judge and you're making yourself vulnerable to have yourself judged by people. But I sometimes felt like people were like, all right, already, like, get over it. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
like it's your dad, like your dad. But it's like, you, it's like everyone's different. Everyone's grief is different.
yeah,
And some people just don't have that level of empathy that lasts.
right.
It's like, all right, the grief is, let's move on. And no, it's like it comes in waves.
Hmm.
And it's never when you expect it. It's never on the 1 year anniversary. It's never on Father's Day. It's never on the holidays. It's in those stupid, like, dumb moments that you think won't matter, but they do. When, I think the first one for me was when Jackson was, my youngest was in, God, second grade or something. And I got out of the car to go wait for them to come out. And this little boy came out, like, running, Papa, Papa. And I was like, for a second, you forgot because that's what our kids used to call my dad, Papa. Man, and I'm standing in that freaking thing crying. I had to put my sunglasses on, my cap, and I'm like, that hit.
No.
Not Father's Day, not so. It's like people have no idea. Just be there, be kind,
Hmm.
show empathy. It's like, man, it doesn't take a lot. Just listen. You don't even have to say anything. Just listen.
And it doesn't, I always say, it doesn't cost you a darn thing. It is free to be nice to somebody and check in on them. Like, oh, that's all it takes.
Yeah,
When somebody asks you how you're doing, do you tell them really how you're doing?
I know.
You know,
Or
when,
wait for the response.
because when I ask how you're doing, I genuinely want
Want
to
to know?
know.
Yeah.
And
But there's not a lot of people like that.
there have been people that I know they're going through things, and I try to make a conscious effort to check in and say, "Hey, I hope you're having a better day. I'm here for you if you want to talk. Let's go grab a drink. Let's have some girl
Hmm.
talk." Because I remember being that lonely in that anxiety
Yeah.
and in that depression. And doesn't mean that you're going to have these perfect days all the time, because there are days that I know I'm like I'm struggling. But in going back to what I said about my faith, I know now that I can give it to him and he's going to take care of it for me, because I'm this peon in this little
Right.
earth that can't process or fix things the way that he can. So why
Hmm.
am I going to sit here and and exhaust myself.
Right. And not only that, there's just so much to be thankful for too, you know?
Mhm.
Like there's so many things that we're blessed with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I
Um,
and you learn that you don't have to give that person or the people that couldn't hold you up. I don't I don't resent them. I'm
but
disappointed.
you shouldn't allow them either to change who you are and how you are. Like if
Mhm.
you're the type of friend that always checks in, like continue to check in even with that person. If you're the type of person that prays for people, continue, you know what I mean? Like you shouldn't
Mhm.
let a person change who you are because I think that the people that show you who they are has nothing to do with you. That's just they're consistently an asshole. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they're consistently a bitch. They're consistently like judgmental. So it's like you know who they are.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with you. So just continue being right who you are, who you've always been as a friend, as a
Mhm.
whatever. You know? Because
Yeah.
it's like why allow a person to
And the mindset
dictate how you
changes
act?
too because then you realize, oh wait, I don't have to rely on this person to make me feel better. I can make myself feel better
Mm-hmm.
in my own situation. It's just
How come
it
you're not
wasn't
drinking?
the it was it wasn't the
Oh,
route that I was thinking I would be on. I'm not drinking because I have to have a straw. You want to hold? Hold please. Hold please. I need a straw.
that is that fermented? It's like strong or something. I'm like this.
Well, you're gonna be like that some more. Did you hear my hip pop? That was my hip.
Bear Brothers.
Hello. Yes, ma'am. So, have you ever had any anxiety-driven situations, or am I the only one that struggles?
I I don't know that I had anxiety growing up. I had very like OCD behavior.
CP.
But then
You still have some OCD.
oh yeah, it's bad. Certain things. I don't know why. But um well, I found out why in therapy, but that's another story. But I think my anxiety or what I started to know when I started to know about anxiety was when I had my kids. There was one
Mm.
particular
Mm.
time where I I think I had gotten like a cold or something. And I didn't feel good. I was in the shower, and in the shower, for whatever reason, I felt like I was going to pass out. But then that
You never
turned
told me that.
into, oh yeah, Chloe, we only had two at the time. But then that turned into like, I'm passing out because I'm dying.
Oh.
I'm
Oh
passing out
gosh.
because something has
Yeah.
happened. And so then I started to hyperventilate, like breathe heavy, you know, whatever. So then that turned into a full on
Okay. So you had some anxiety to do with
panic
death
attack. That's
and
when I ended up in the hospital. Remember where I was like, I couldn't even open my
yeah.
hands? My mouth was like stuck. Like it was the weirdest thing. I thought I was having a stroke. But I think that was all at that point. It turned into just, it snowballed.
Yeah.
Like my head went like to a million
It's
paces
amazing what your mind can do.
because again, my anxiety is about like things happening to me.
The unknown.
Because now it's like, oh my God, I have kids. Like, what's going to happen if I, like, it's just weird. I get in a car and I'm like, who's going to, like,
Oh
I drive
wow.
like Grandma Moses, you know? But, um, but I've had little things here and there just random.
Yeah.
Not even that something's happening. I don't know why it happens, but it happens. But I do this thing. It's like tapping. Have you ever heard of tapping? So there's
Like tapping for anxiety.
yeah. So there's sometimes like a lot of NBA players do it. I don't if you ever just Google NBA players tapping. But it's when you feel like something's coming on, like anxious or like panicky. I do this thing where I just close my eyes and I tap and I breathe and it's like instant.
So like a relaxation exercise.
It's like tapping is a thing.
Hmm.
People do it for like, you know,
Yeah.
anxiety or whatever. So I do that. My thing is obsessive compulsive bullshit.
Yeah, but it's so crazy. Like it's just interesting to see where that comes from, where it stems from,
And
like
why it
how
happens.
your younger years are.
Literally, that's what happens. You don't even realize that
Yeah,
you're like forming these little things that are happening and it's
yeah.
like you don't realize like for example, the OCD thing um it came out in therapy that so when I was little, I was obsessed with keeping all my belongings like in one little space. I just had to have my shit, like don't touch my stuff, like don't. until this day it kind of comes out a little bit. Um, but we realized in I did the light therapy. What do you call it?
The red light
M
therapy?
M. My God, what is it called?
EMDR?
EMDR. In that whole
Is that right? Are
process,
we saying that right?
I don't know,
EMDR?
but it was some kind of light where I was like, freaking, it worked it worked because it was bad. But it came out that, or we discovered that the reason why I used to do like rituals and shit when I was little was because it was my way of controlling my environment in an environment where it seemed out of control to my little self, my little 4-year-old self. Where it came from was that our grandmother used to live with us,
Mm.
and she was like fine one day, I feel like, and then the next day she just wasn't. Like, we still don't know till this day what do you think it was like.
I think she had a stroke,
So it's like
but her health
it
declined
was like
rather
fast,
quickly. Like, yeah.
and she lived with us, so you didn't know if she was gonna, like, I can remember how many times ambulances came to our
Mhm.
home and she fell and this and that.
Mhm.
So that fear, like, in your like gut, that we were experiencing all the time, and the unknown of, oh my God, is she gonna drop dead today? Is something gonna happen? Like, it was so bad. And then you don't know how to process that as a child. So having that, because I think aside from that, we had a great childhood.
Yeah, we had an awesome upbringing. Like there was nothing that happened where it was
Like traumatic or
we didn't have
anything.
any trauma, we didn't have any loss, we had the best. And it's not like we traveled a lot or we had like all these toys or anything. The family unit was just secure, it was
And our house
healthy,
was like the party
it was
house. We were
happy.
had holidays. Like,
Yeah.
it was just, I can't say anything negative about our childhood.
No.
Yeah, we
No.
had, things like regular things where you have like with your parents and stuff, but nothing that you're like, oh my God, I have to go to therapy. Like, nothing like
Mhm.
that. Thank God, because some people don't have that luxury, but it was all kind of just surrounded by the whole grandma, like, oh my God, she's gonna die type thing.
Yeah, like
Like the
illness
fear of her getting sick. And then,
and
so it makes sense why my anxiety is about sickness, right?
or and loss, because who's to say that the fear of losing her when we were little didn't trigger something in me to say one day this is going to happen. I don't know, it's just
It's
crazy how
scary.
your mind works. But in closing, I think we can say, well, I'll say something and I don't know if you want to add on to it, but just because you have anxiety or some sort of mental depression, or it doesn't mean you're broken
Or you're
or you're
weird.
weak, or that you're just this weird person. It literally just means that you are human and you're dealing with what you're dealing with.
You're dealing with shit.
It
We all
doesn't
have shit.
nobody has to apologize. I feel like nobody should apologize for something that they can't grasp
Or they can't help.
or
They can't help.
conquer.
Yeah.
um but with that, I think the way that I would approach it is to be able just to communicate with those that you do know you can lean on. I don't know, a coworker, a family
You can lean
member.
on us.
Yeah, seriously.
You can reach out to
I was
us.
very vulnerable in sharing certain things. Like, I'm like, great, I'm going to be that girl that's sharing the crying video. But I did it because it was a time where I felt at my lowest, that if I put that out there, maybe somebody would be able to relate and share
Hmm.
their. And there were people, a couple of women that reached out and they were like, I'm so happy you did that. It made me feel like I could talk to somebody. And if at the end of the day, that's all we get out of posting these kind of videos and whatever material this is, it's worth it.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
you're not alone and you are not broken. That was
Ding.
deep. All right, cheers with my straw.
Cheers.
Cheers
Look at
to
all my
strong
lip
women
chat.
everywhere.
Yes. You got this.
Till next time.
Bye. Bye
Bye.
bye.